Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. Of course, we're here today to talk about our favorite weekly flex plays. The villain has returned, ladies and gentlemen. Although villains come in many forms, but we've invited back Brandon Adam, of course, no longer on Twitter. Brandon, what's going on, brother? It's been a few weeks.
Good, brother. Just been, enjoying my time out in jail and, just working out in social media jail and having a good time and, just being me.
Just being you, man. Well, welcome back to the show. It's always too long since we last chatted. We're always talking about our favorite flex plays. Anyways, it's just nice to make it a little bit official. It's week 6. Can you believe you blink and the season is over a quarter way through, which is absolutely insane to me? But there's some really good games on the slate this week. And spoiler alert, if you have anybody in the Bills-Chiefs game, you're probably going to want to start them this week. Don't overthink it. That's the game of the week. That's the fantasy production game of the week, and don't overthink it. But Brandon, let's get right into it because we got so much to talk about today. Give me your favorite flex play of the week. Oh, and sorry, for those of you new to the show, thank you for joining in. But these flex plays are players that are just that. It's a start-sit type decision. Our number one mantra on this show is start your studs. Don't overthink that stuff, okay? For those of you in the DFS Army Discord, which, hey, if you're a member of the Army, you got to come join the Discord because that's where the magic really happens, talking with the coaches. Don't overthink your start-sit decisions. If it's a stud, you start them. Okay, with that being said, Brandon, who is your number one? Locked and loaded, your favorite flex play on the week, no pressure.
It's the guy that is going to be unleashed this week. His name is Ramondre Stevenson of the Pats. I think this guy, this is the begin. Last week was just a start. This will be the next 6 weeks for this guy is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So if you ended up snagging this guy, traded for him on the low when he was still sharing with Damian Harris, you are going to absolutely smash the next month of fantasy football. Just a few little tidbits about him. He has the 13th best target share out of the air for running backs at 11.7 target share. That's elite. That's up there with all the big names of Austin Eckler, all those guys. And if you actually look at his rush and reception prop from Vegas, he's set at 101 yards this week, and that is right up there with Christian McCaffrey, higher than Austin Eckler, right there with JT. He's up there with the lead dogs now just because of how many. Vegas is expecting this guy to run through the Browns rush defense, and I 100% agree with that. He's going to get the full workload, and you could just tell this guy is just different. A couple of cool little efficiency numbers for him. He's running at 5.1 yards per tote. That's 10th in the league. His juke rate is 61.7%. That's number 1 in the league. Evaded tackles, 50 on the season, number 2 in the league.
Oh, 2. Who's number 1? That's a question. I thought he was number 1. I guess he got surpassed last week.
I think that's Damian Harris. Or Damian Pierce of the Texans. Pierce. That man is making more room for himself than any back in this league. And wow, what a hit on us by us on that one early in the season. Damian Pierce was one of our favorites, and that's a good one. But his break more for Ramondre Stevenson. His break away runs is 8th in the league with 5 of them. I mean, this guy, his efficiency numbers are through the roof. So now that he's getting full-blown volume with Damian Harris being down for who knows how long, I think this is when he takes the job and Bill Belichick unleashes his best player on offense fully.
There you go. Oh, that's a bold statement. Best player on offense. Look. Obviously, the Patriots fan. I love Ramondre Stevenson. You hit all the highlights. The one thing I will add is that when you say the Cleveland rush defense, I'm going to ask you what Cleveland rush defense.
Yeah,
right now,
exactly.
They're pretty much abysmal. They rank 25th in the league. They're allowing, and this is our good friend Cody Carpentier on Twitter, they're allowing 1.6 rush yards to the opposing rushing offenses in the league. And the key thing here is just based on the fact of it's about opportunity share, right? Damian Harris is going to be out. He's going to miss this game. We already know that Ty Montgomery, he's on IR, so he's obviously not going to be he's not going to play. Now, Pierre Strong, I will say, I like Pierre Strong. When you talk about the type of Patriots running back, like the Kevin Falks, the James Whites, the do-it-all type players, that's what Pierre Strong will eventually be. But we do know that, generally speaking, Bill Belichick hates rookies. He hates rookies. That's just a fact. So if we're talking about a 50-50 timeshare between Stevenson and Damian Harris, 70-30, I think realistically, and Pierre Strong, he might get some of those third down opportunities, but it's going to be the Stevenson show. And that's the key thing too, Brandon. It's just based on the fact that in the passing game, Ramondre Stevenson is getting the targets, right? So he has 16 on the season, and he's a 12% target share. Damian Harris was pretty much a non-factor in there. So when given the opportunity against a bad rushing defense, horrible rushing defense, I mean, Browns is the Browns. Unfortunately, I think this is an absolute smash play. I got a Patriot that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later, but Ramondre Stevenson, man, I absolutely love it.
I just traded for him in a couple spots, so I'm ecstatic about the timing of those trades.
There you go. Okay, player that I'm going to be talking about has been frankly disappointing pretty much the entire season, and that's got to be Darrell Henderson, running back of those Los Angeles Rams. So going up against Carolina. Now, for those of you who haven't heard, I don't know, man. It's trouble in paradise right now because Cam Akers seems to be in the doghouse definitively with Coach Sean McVay, which I don't quite understand. So there's this narrative going around right now that Cam Akers doesn't like football. But a dude who has come back from 2 major injuries throughout his short career already, it takes a lot of guts and it takes a lot of persistence to be able to get back to that level, especially with the Achilles last year where he was playing in the bloody playoffs. So I don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes, but he's missing this week's game for personal reasons. But listen, Darrell Henderson, he was pretty much droppable in a lot of leagues. Hopefully you were able to get him quickly if he was available on your waiver wire, because this week, Darrell Henderson, who was in a 50-50 timeshare predominantly with Cam Akers, is going to have the show to himself. And the thing that I like the best is the fact that, again, Carolina is an absolutely atrocious run defense. They're allowing 130 yards on average to the opposing run offenses. And the one thing I will say is that Darrell Henderson is also making his hay through the air. But the backup, so now the RB2 in the team is going to be Kyren Williams. Now, Kyren Williams, for those of you who play Dynasty, he was a bit of a favorite until he actually got to the combine, simply because he was an absolute monster at catching the ball. Now, Player Profiler has him at best comparable to James White because that's kind of his style of play. In college, in 2020, he had 35 receptions for 313 yards, which accounted for 13.3% target share. We talk about you like 8% and up for these running backs in college. He has 13%. And then in 2021, he had 42 receptions for 359 yards, which equated to a 10.8% target share. That worries me a little bit, especially in PPR leagues where Kyren Williams is going to get a few of those passing opportunities, those reception opportunities away from Darrell Henderson. But going back to the fact that Carolina is an absolute putrid team, the Rams need a definitive win here. The Rams don't look good. There's something wrong with them right now. They can get back to the basics, give the rock to Darrell Henderson. You're going to hope that he's going to get 70, 80 yards on the ground, probably 20, 30 yards through the air, 3-4 receptions, and you're banking on that touchdown. Darrell Williams, Ramondre Stevenson, there's 2 chalky plays this week in DFS.
Yep.
If you have them on your fantasy football team, unless you have absolutely perfect options ahead of them, you're going to want to start both of these players this week.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you.
All right, give me your next one, Brandon.
I think it's our golden child, man. I think our golden child, Ken Walker, is going to absolutely take over. This is the game that we've all been waiting. When we talked about Ken Walker preseason, we said it's going to be mucky. It's going to be ugly until Penny is out of the picture. And we said week 5, week 6, we can see something happening with Penny. And he wasn't going to last, and he never was. And I'm so happy that all followers had that in their brains when they were drafting, because now they got a league-winning back in week 6 that's actually going to smash the rest of the season. And he's going to get all the touches, man. There is nobody behind. The Travis Homer's out. Like, there is nobody behind. They brought up DJ Dallas to have some kind of depth. This guy is going to get all the work, all the rush work, and he's going to catch the football. And we're going to get this shootout with the Cards. This game with the Cards is going to go over, and I think it's going to be an absolute points palooza. And Arizona needs to win this. They have to win this to stay relevant. And I think Kenneth Walker is going to be a major, major piece for the Seattle Seahawks against the Cards. And look at what he's doing. I mean, this guy is just look at his metrics. He's in 98th percentile for speed, 4.38. He's the best rusher in college football. We knew that. His college dominator rating was 50%, 99th percentile, 5.5 yards yak in college. This guy is going to be, and he's doing the same thing. If you looked at the last game last week, every time he touched the football, it was very explosive. And last week, you just got a taste of it. I think this is when we get to see all of it and his whole workload. And I think he's going to absolutely smash this whole week. I'm very excited. I mean, he's 14th in yards per touch, 5.5 yards per touch. Juke rate 41%, eighth in the league. Like, this guy is everything that we thought he was going to be. Yards created per touch, number 2 in the league with 5.2 yards. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you look for. And now that he's getting the volume, it's going to just explode this week and for the rest of the season.
Look, he's an absolute monster. And we saw it last year in college, where he was actually in running for the Heisman. He didn't end up obviously getting it, but so just a few of his college metrics. And again, for those of you who listen to the Waiver Wire show, first of all, thank you for listening to it. But these are some of the things we talked about on Monday. But let's just reiterate it for the different audience. Kenneth Walker, this is 2021 college football season, okay? Yards after contact, he had 1,168 yards after contact. That's a good stat line, just period, for a college running back. That's yards after contact. Missed tackles forced, 89.
Yeah.
By comparison, we talk about Breece Hall and the elusiveness of Breece Hall. Breece Hall at 74. Ken Walker at 89. Is Ken Walker explosive? Can he get those extra plays? Again, we already talked about yards after contact, so we would assume it. Carries of 15-plus yards in college football last year, Brandon. He had 30. Okay? When you look at his college production, tied in to his athleticism, his best comparable player is LaDainian Tomlinson himself.
Oh, yeah.
Now, his second best comparable player is Rashad Penny, who, look, Rashad Penny was an amazing prospect. He just hasn't stayed healthy.
Yep.
This is one of those situations where you have to just trust the process, right?
Yes.
For those of us that were on Ken Walker, that drafted Ken Walker, and he was riding our bench for the last month of the season, it's finally time to put him in. Don't be afraid. There's very few players that I would start ahead of Ken Walker this week in fantasy football. We got Bali in the house. What's going on, Bali? Thanks for tuning in, brother. And yeah, I mean, absolutely, this is an absolute smash. If you were going to talk about Ken Walker, I was definitely going to talk about Ken Walker this week. So
here's another little tidbit. So average defenders in the box, he's facing 7.1 defenders in the box. That's 4th in the league, right? So his stacked front carry rate is 8th in the league, and he's still being successful. So this guy can create room in a phone booth. This is what he does. This is what we loved about him. He's explosive and he's a finisher. And I fully expect a massive week out of him. And going forward, this guy is a must start every week moving forward. Do not mess around. Just keep him in your lineup, because he's only going to be more and more positive as the year goes on.
Yeah. I mean, and just the Seattle Seahawks in general are not great at run blocking, but it's Ken Walker.
This guy creates. He creates.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He creates.
Absolutely. We got a question from Bali. We got half point PPR. We got Drake London or Devonta Smith. Drake London, of course, Atlanta is playing. I should have this in front of me. This is great radio. Where are them? Okay. I'm gonna say we got to go with Atlanta going up against San Francisco. That worries me a lot, especially because Kyle Pitts is going to be out. Whereas Philly, man, they're playing that was, I believe it's a Sunday night game going up against Dallas. Like that to me it's going to be fireworks. I don't know. Where are you leaning on this one? Half point PPR. You're basically, what you're weighing here is safety of a position. So Devonta Smith has a very defined role in the offense, whereas Drake London, he's going to be going up against these top corners. I would have a really hard time, even though he's going to get the volume. I have a really hard time starting Drake London this week. Whereas Devonta Smith, I mean, it's also a little over under.
Devonta Smith is going to be facing Anthony Brown. He's 34th ranked DB in coverage. Drake London is going against Charvarius Ward. He's third. So that tells you Tre'Davious Ward. That tells you everything you need to know. Just go Smith. Go with the matchup. I know London is going to get volume, but it's going to be hard work for him to get in the box. So I think it's Smith to me. I think it's Smith, and I think that game is actually going to shoot out a little bit more than I'm going to hit the over on that game as well. So I think it's Smith. I think he's going to make plays, and I think he's just fine. I like Smith a lot this week.
42-point over under seems very low.
It's going over. That's an easy over.
Yeah, I would take the over on that one as well. Yeah, that one's tough, but Devonta Smith, even though he's the wide receiver 2 versus the wide receiver 1, it's just every catch that London's going to make is going to be a contested catch, and it's going to be a tough one. So it's going to be a good test for London, frankly. But I'm entirely confident
if he succeeds, that tells me you never take him out of the lineup. That's what if London proves that he can do this week without Pitts and without Cordell Patterson in that offense, pulling any kind of coverage away from him, they're going to be blanketing this guy. So I could totally if he's successful, this proves a ton to me.
Marcus Mariota just needs to throw him the damn ball, man. Just put it up.
Just put Ritter in. I want to see Ritter. I want to see Mike's guy. I want to see what will happen. I think we're not too far away from that. Honestly, I think that's going to happen. I know Kenny Pickett. We called that. We actually called that. We said, within 6 weeks, Mitch is gone. We said that in the beginning of the season. Kenny Pickett will be the guy. So, and we also said Ritter by week 8. I said the last half of the season because the Atlanta will be out of it by then. They're going to test and see what Ritter is.
I mean, you look at what Drake London does well. He's great in contested catches. He's great.
That's what he does.
People miss. He's great at the deep ball. So these are all he's just an explosive type player. But I'd say this week it's all about your options.
I'll go matchup. Go matchup. Go Smith.
Yeah, we're going Smith. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about another darling this week in fantasy football, and that's got to be Eno Benjamin, the Arizona Cardinals running back. They're going up against Seattle. Now, the thing is that this game is the second highest point total on the game on the week. It's a 50.5 over under. And really what it comes down to is it's got two pretty good offenses going against two not so great defenses. Darrell Williams and James Conner have both already been ruled out. Now, Eno Benjamin, one of his strengths has really been being that third down back. He predominantly is not the first down running back, right? He's only 207 pounds. He's 5'9". But again, the Seahawks suck at stopping the ball. They're allowing 149 yards per game. It's going to be Eno Benjamin and the rookie Keontae Ingram, who we like Keontae Ingram, but Eno Benjamin, he's going to have the trust of the coaching staff. He's had a 33% opportunity share to start the season. But despite that fact, he still has 17 targets versus James Conner's 19 targets. So we know that Eno Benjamin, again, is going to make his hay in the passing game, which in pretty much every format, even non-PPR, getting those extra yards, let's call it easy yards, those screen yards are going to be valuable. Eno Benjamin, again, he's another chalky. We're talking about a lot of chalky plays this week in DFS simply because these are all chalky for a reason. They're good players in good matchup situations. Sometimes let's not make things complicated. Eno Benjamin, hopefully you're able to get him on the waiver wire because he wasn't rostered in most leagues coming into this week, but I guarantee you he's going to be heavily rostered this week. If you're trying to decide if you want to start Eno Benjamin, I actually chose to start Eno in one of my leagues over Brian Robinson. So Brian Robinson put up 12 points on my bench in one of my leagues. So I'm hoping that Eno Benjamin's going to get between 14 to 17 points. I think you would be very happy with that. He's going to be an RB1 this week. Lock it up. Anything to add about Benjamin, Brendan?
No, it's the chalk. It's the chalk spot for a running back to come and explode. I mean, if Eno can't do it in this matchup, then he'll never do it. So but with the way Kyler speaks about Eno, he has full faith in that guy. I think Kyler's been waiting to use him a little bit because he likes to pass to him. It sounds like. So I'm all for that. So yeah, lock it up. I'm very in on this Cards Seahawks game, and because I think it's going to shoot out. Both teams, the Cards need this game. They need this game.
They really do.
It would be a huge win right before they get D-Hop back in that offense, and this leads right into my next guy. If we want to go to my next guy, let's check. This is an oldie. This is a guy that this is one of my biggest, struggling guys that I loved coming out of the draft 2 years ago, and that's my little Ant-Man, Rondell Moore. Rondell Moore is going to be matched up against Kobe Bryant, which sounds crazy to say, which is player profile has him as a 56th ranked DB in coverage. This is the week where Rondell can actually shine. It's a big 50-point implied game over and under for the game, 26 for the Cards, 26 points for the Cards, and he has an implied his over and under is at 5.5 total receptions. That's the highest it's been for him since he's been in the league, really. So last week he had 7 catches, and it seems like since he's healthy and they are trying to get him the football and they are actually giving him some volume. And so this is a matchup play for me, and I just believe in this guy's talent, and I feel like he's kind of had a slow go of it just because of health, and I think Cliff Kingsbury is trying to adjust his play calling to him, and it's very clear when you listen to Kyler, when you listen to Cliff about getting this guy involved. They are trying to get this guy involved, and this is the week, man. He's not going to be messing around with Woolen. Like Marquise Brown is going to be draped by Tariq Woolen, the other corner for the Seattle Seahawks. He's going to be having his handful with that. So I think the ball is going to not go that direction as much this week. And Kobe Bryant is the guy that gave up the touchdown to Olave last week. So let's fire up Rondell if you have him. This is a guy that I'm putting in my lineups because I just like this game to shoot out, and Rondell should at least get 6 catches in this game. 6 catches, 65, 70 yards, and maybe he can get in the end zone with how weak this matchup is for him against this Kobe Bryant, not the Black Mamba himself.
Yeah, so I was a little bit surprised because Greg Dortch was playing very, very well. He was proven to be one of Kyler's favorite targets. Obviously, Marquise is a guy, but playing that slot role, Greg Dortch was doing a really good job, and he was showing that he was reliable. Whereas last year, if you look at Rondell Moore, he wasn't reliable last year. Simply put,
the depth of target is different this year. It seems like they were listening to the masses screaming at him like, why are they just giving it to him on screens? Yeah. Like, let's get him down the field. And it seemed like last week that has been implemented in the route tree that he's running is he's getting deeper depth of targets. So I feel like they are trying to get this guy to break out. So I think this might be the game that they can do that.
I mean, it should be this game. It should be this game. And it's week 6 now, which means that next week, Hopkins is going to be back, and that's going to really put a wrinkle in this entire offense because at that point, Rondell Moore goes from being the second wide receiver to the third wide receiver. That's a huge, huge drop, even though it's a slot position.
Yep.
Target share probably 12-13% every single week. It's not going to be reliable. So this is the week where you're going to fire up Rondell Moore. I don't mind that. Sticking with that same game, Molly's asking us a question. Would you start? This is actually a tough question, but I think I know the answer to this. Would you start Eno Benjamin or Darrell Henderson this week?
Puck. I mean, Eno's in the smash spot, dude. Eno's in a smash spot. I think it's going to shoot out. It has a higher point total implied. I think he gets in the box. What do you think?
No, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm looking at DFS Army tools here, and they have Benjamin projected at 14.49 points in half
Here, let me look at
PPR, and Daryl Henderson 11.86 points. So you look at the matchup, you look at the opportunity share, you look at the player talent. I like Benjamin generally better than Daryl Henderson. I like Daryl Henderson, but I generally prefer his prospect profile a little bit better. So. And just based on the fact that I do think that Kyron Williams is going to get some use through the air, whereas Keontae Ingram isn't, he's not as dangerous in the passing game as Kyron Williams. So just based on those facts, I do give the slight edge to Benjamin in this one, Bali.
I do too.
Close,
Vegas, the Vegas lines agree with you.
They do agree with me. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. Go with Eno in this one. It's probably going to be close. I mean, shit. Like, so one of the things we like to do in the Discord is coach, right? And what we always talk about is its range of outcomes. If these players played 100 games, what are the probability that one's going to score more than the other? I'd probably give the odds 60% in favor of Benjamin, that if they replayed the games 100 times, he's going to outscore him. Oh gosh. And then
what?
We got a question from Night Maria.
It's Walker.
It's Walker. Ken Walker, man. Ken Walker is going to smash. He's going to light the world on fire. He's going to light the world on fire.
This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting for. I'm excited. It's all day Walker. All day. Yeah.
So the type of player that Ken Walker, at least that I see, and I think you were similar to this, was I see a lot of J.K. Dobbins in Ken Walker's game. Now, the one thing about Ken Walker that we didn't see in college is just his catching prowess, right? But that's not to say he can't catch the ball. It just means they didn't really give him the ball in that up, but they didn't need to. That's the thing. They didn't have to in college. So, no, you're definitely going to go Walker. And then, okay, so Michael Thomas is out, Nick. Nick Perrone's asking Mike Thomas or Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is out. All day. So it's going to be Olave because you don't want to get a 0 on that one. This is actually an interesting game. The Saints going up against Cincinnati. So T. Higgins is likely not going to play.
Nope.
And Marshawn Lattimore has been ruled out. So I think Jamar Chase is going to absolutely destroy in this game. Which means that the Saints, and again, it's going to be Andy Dalton throwing the ball again this week. And Andy Dalton has shown that he can get at least Chris Olave involved in the game. What about long term? Man, I still have Chris Olave ranked over him. I was drafting Chris Olave over Michael Thomas for most of the season. And then when Michael Thomas's are in like during draft season, and then when Michael Thomas's ADP rose up to round 5, round 6, when he was proven to be healthy, I was on the full on fade of Michael Thomas because I believed in Chris Olave. Michael Thomas hasn't really stayed healthy. Chris Olave had the concussion, but it sounds like he's going to be able to play this week. Long term, Olave, he's more explosive than Thomas. Thomas looks good, but he's been very touchdown dependent throughout the games. So he's had quarters where he's completely disappeared, where all Chris Olave does is produce. We saw it in the London game. He was the guy. He was Andy Dalton's favorite target. So I like Chris Olave long term.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Henderson having a better game script as 10-point favorites. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but have the Rams really done anything to give you confidence that they're going to be able to produce every single week? It's also only a 41.5 over under. So it's, the implied team total for the Rams is 25 points, whereas the implied team total for the Cardinals is 26 points. So yeah, I know it's absolutely going to be close. And I think it's definitely a toss up, but I'm still going Ken Walker. We're going
Ken Walker. We've been waiting for this.
Ken Walker. You got to go Ken Walker.
We've been waiting for this,
Benjamin. Man. Yeah, this is the one you've been waiting for. It's close, dude. Like, because obviously they're going to be in the same game together. And the thing that worries me is if Pete Carroll wants to play games for some freaking reason, and Ken Walker doesn't get a 70% opportunity share, but he should. If everything's going right, he should.
Travis Homer is out. He's injured. It's Ken Walker, DJ Dallas, and that's it. Like it's going to be, and I actually think it's going to be a lot of Lockett this week, a lot of Lockett and KW this week. I think those are the two matchups they exploit, and that's and this game is, like I said, this game is set up to explode just because the defense for the Seattle Seahawks is so bad that they're going to be chasing a ton, and Ken Walker Ken Walker, if Seattle is by chance leading in the fourth quarter, they are going to run the living dog shit out of Ken Walker to end that game. And I think, Seattle, Ken Walker's been catching footballs, okay? Like in camp, in all that. They've been talking about it. So I think he's going to be, no matter game script, I think he's going to be fine.
What it comes down to when you're looking at these types of situations too is which player is more likely going to take it to the house on any given play. And when you look at Ken Walker's explosiveness, I mean, Ken Walker has a 98th percentile 40-yard dash of 4.38. Okay, that's a 90th percentile speed score for his size and weight. So 4.38. Compare that to Benjamin, who's a 4.57.
Yeah,
he has a decent burst score, so he's able to make that pop, that extra step. But similar opportunity usage. We've been waiting for this. We talked about Ken Walker
Just rewatch the touches from last week. Watch Ken Walker finish that touchdown run, and you will be like, "What am I thinking?" Because Benjamin, less of a chance to do that. This guy is a highly. He's a prospect. This Ken Walker is a high-end prospect. This is what they wanted. There's a reason why they spent another second-round pick on a running back when they had Penny there for that season. It's because they knew that Penny wasn't going to last. They knew that they were going to have another true workhorse for this Seattle offense to operate, and that is what KW is. And Pete loves his backs, and he doesn't mind running with rookies.
Yeah, just to put a bow on this, it's going to be very, very close. When I look at our tools and our projection tools over at dfsarmy.com, there's a link below for those of you who want to go over to dfsarmy.com. Click the link in the description. But projected points for Ken Walker, and this is 0.5 PPR, okay? 14.87 points. Benjamin, 14.49 points. So it's going to be very close. But if you talk about explosive plays, who's more likely to break off an 80-yard run? It's Ken Walker. So for that reason, that's why I'm leaning towards Ken Walker. Okay, we're going to answer one more question here, and then we're going to move on to our next flex plays to end out the show. Okay, so Bolly lost Pat Freiermuth. It sounds like he may make it through the protocols, but still risky. Who do we like? Hunter Henry, touchdown upside. Will Dissly. I like the uses in the offense. He's being used, but worries me a little bit. Cameron Brate, who sounds like he's going to be back. I'm kind of leaning towards Robert Tonyan here. Ty Conklin would have been my vote if it wasn't Zach Wilson playing, but Zach Wilson seems to hate Tyler Conklin, so not really an option. Mo Alley Cox is way too touchdown dependent. Plus, I just don't really trust the Colts offense. Cameron Brate, he's going to be used, but Cade Otton showed last week that he was capable, so that worries me a little bit. So really, to me, it's about the touchdown equity with Hunter Henry, which probably playing with Bailey Zappi this week. I worry about that a little bit, which, I'm actually going to be talking about Jacoby shortly here. But for me, it's between Dissly and Robert Tonyan. But Robert Tonyan, he's definitively in that circle of trust. We saw it last week. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is old. He's curmudgeonly. Randall Cobb led the team in targets last week. Any given week, Robert Tonyan can get in a box. You hope he gets 3 or 4 receptions. It's going to be tough. I'm voting Tonyan here. What do you think?
I agree. I really don't have a strong position on this one. Tonyan, that's the guy that makes sense to me because he can get in the box and like you said, A-Rod, trust him. So he's in that offense. He'll be on the field a lot. And like Zappy, I think I'm telling you, this is Ramondre's week. I think it's going to be a lot of him this week with Zappy kind of, mixing in some throws here and there to your next flex play.
Yeah, I mean, do we really believe the Jets are a good defense? So far, they've played pretty solid, but do we really believe it? At some point, the dam's going to break.
Good.
They're good. No, they're ascending for sure, but I don't know. At this point, it's close, but I'm going Tonyan.
We called this. We talked about this in the summertime. This is the beginnings of the Bengals of 2 years ago with the Jets. This is what we thought was going to happen. Garrett, my biggest miss. Elijah Moore, my dear sweet boy, he's just, it just seems like he's not going to be, the guy. And Garrett Wilson is just a dog out there. And, You know, I feel like this is an ascending team overall, and the defense is very good as well with Sauce Gardner. Sauce has made a massive impact on that team.
Oh yeah.
And I just love watching that guy play ball, man. That guy plays like a 10-year vet, and he's a rookie. It's pretty awesome.
I just don't know if I trust Zach Wilson. Like, I'm not convinced Zach Wilson's good. That's the only problem here. I just don't believe he's good because you think
he's talented, man. He's talented. I think he's got that leadership, and when you hear these guys talk about quarterbacks, what do players believe in? And it seems like his teammates are all in on Zach Wilson, his ability, his talent. He lights it up in the fourth quarter when you got to do it. That tells me a lot. Especially, I mean, he's barely played, man. He's been injured a ton. This is kind of going to be like Trey Lance kind of thing as well. Like next year, we're going to see it's just a lot of injuries, and I feel like he's talented. He's got a ton of talent around him. I think he's got it in him. I really think he's got it in him to be a guy.
Yeah, it's a Seslowski-ism, right? He just talks about that. Zach Wilson's going to be protected at least for one more season. He's going to have 100%. At least one more year, which, based on where the Jets are projected to finish, they might have a top 10 pick, which means they might actually have a shot at one of these quarterbacks, but I don't see them taking it. They're going to give Wilson at least one more season just to kind of show if he's the guy or if he's not the guy, unless they absolutely just tank for the rest of the season and they get like a top 4 or 5 pick, which I don't really see happening. So let's move on. Give me your last flex play of the week, Brandon. I'll give you mine, then we'll get the hell out of here.
My guy is going to be Christian Kirk. He fell on his face last week. He was moved outside of the numbers more often last week due to the fact he had some injuries on the team with the outside receiver, so he had to do that. Yeah. So pending some returns with a few of his teammates, I think Zay's playing. I think Zay's going to play. I think they're going to attack this Indianapolis defense out of the slot with either Kirk or Ingram, a tight end that can operate in the slot as well. He's slotted to go against Kenny Moore, the 57th best coverage corner in the league. So that's a very good matchup for Christian Kirk. He's got an elite target share in that offense. He's doing quite well. He's top 10. What is he? He's still a wide receiver 1, even though he fell on his face last week. He's still fine.
Yeah.
He had some drops last week. I feel like this game is a sneaky game that could it's two teams that really don't like each other and that really are gonna go hard against each other. They've had a lot of smack talk from last season. A lot. It's just because of Pat McAfee, the Pat McAfee effect. He was talking trash about the Jags, and I just feel like this is a bounce back week for Christian Kirk. So I'm sliding him into my lineups, even though he had a dud last week. I think the target volume goes back to him, and I feel like he will reign again.
This is a massive game. This is a massive game.
Yep.
The Colts and Jaguars, they both have 2 wins on the season. The Titans are 3-2, so the Titans are leading this division right now. The AFC South is still wide open. It's going to be a really important game. Of course, now they're going into Indianapolis, still sour from being knocked out last season for the playoffs. The Jaguars play the Colts hard. The only thing that worries me is that this is going to be turned into one of those Thursday night games where it's going to be like 13-10. And that's the only thing that worries me a little bit about this game. But at the same time, we've seen Trevor Lawrence. We've seen the good of Trevor Lawrence. We've also seen the mediocrity of Trevor Lawrence. So it's all about who's going to come out and who's going to come into this game. But without a doubt, Christian Kirk is definitively his number 1 target. And with Zay Jones coming back, it's going to just, ease up that defense just a little bit against Kirk. Smash play, man. It's a beautiful play.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. My last flex play of the week. Some of you are going to say, Shane, this is just a homer pick. But look, Jacoby Myers going up against Cleveland Browns. I think even though it's probably going to be Bailey Zappi throwing the ball, we were comforted last week up against the Detroit Lions, where he did go 7 for 8 for 111 yards and a touchdown. The coveted touchdown, which we know Jacoby Myers isn't great at catching that ball. He is number 4 in the league in terms of his target share, and he's at almost 32%. Obviously, everybody's going to be on Ramondre Stevenson. We've already talked about him at length in this show. It's absolutely going to be a good play, but Nelson Aguilar is out. We saw Devontae Parker is an absolute non-factor. Tyquan Thornton is going to be playing again this week. He's not going to take a lot of the opportunities, but he's going to open up the field because of that speed. I mean, he has elite 1 percentile type speed. Tyquan Thornton does. I think that's going to be a good thing for Nelson Aguilar. And you could be worried that Newsom's going to be covering Jacoby Myers the majority of the time, but the Browns play zone 78% of the time, which is exactly where Jacoby Myers likes to eat, especially in PPR leagues, man. Jacoby Myers is going to be a nice, safe plug and play. And I wouldn't quite put Jacoby Myers in that every week starter category yet. But I would say if you are in a deeper league where you start 3 wide receivers and 1 or 2 flex positions, those types of leagues, especially in 12-person leagues, those are the types of leagues where Jacoby Myers should become an every week starter. He's not quite there yet. Producing this week in fantasy football, if he can get you 12, 13 points in PPR leagues, I think that's going to go a long way in people's get trust. And if he gets in the end zone, he's going to put up 19, 20 points, and he can absolutely smash that wide receiver 3 spot. What do you think, Brendan?
I think that stat with the Browns being a predominantly zone team, I think that's right. I think you're right. Jacoby Myers is the guy that knows how to settle in those pockets and get easy yards. And I 100%, I'm good with that. I like that a lot. Cool. I got one more for the people. Let's do it. It's not deep. This is a guy we've been waiting for. It's Chris Godwin, guys. He's going against the Steelers secondary. Look what Gabe Davis did last week to the Steelers secondary on the other side. And Mike Evans is going to be getting a lot of that rolled coverage from Meek Fitzpatrick. I think Godwin is the smash play in that game. I think he comes out as the number 1 wide receiver focus for that offense this week. And I think they're just going to work on those rookie DBs. That these DBs are getting put on skates every week, and just follow the pattern, guys. They can't stop any wide receivers. So just with no TJ Watt, with no pressure coming, Tom Brady is going to carve the Steelers up this week, just like Josh Allen did with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, the same thing with Chris Godwin. This is going to be a monster week for Chris Godwin.
I like that. Okay. Yeah. We got a question from Nate Marisa. That's going to be hard to say that one. Once again, so we got Devonta Smith, Chris Olave, London, or Judy. Definitely not Judy. I don't trust Judy at all. We already had Devonta Smith over Drake London on a question previously. So really it's Devonta Smith or Chris Olave. And I agree with you. I'm going Chris Olave here. He's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. He's got built-in chemistry already with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton can get him the damn ball. I like Chris Olave this week. And I think that's not even a close one, frankly.
Nope. I think Olave stays in your lineup, guys. I mean, unless you really got to have some real legit talent on your bench to bench Olave right now. Olave is getting all the targets, all the air yards. This guy is just eating it up. And MT's hurt again. MT's hurt. Landry's hurt. They got nobody. So Olave is just going to be, peppered with targets all year long.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's a good one. Okay, let's end it there, man. Sweet and tight.
Sounds good.
45-minute show here.
Perfect.
For those of you who are watching, we really appreciate it. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. So obviously the Parents Station is everything that we talk about with DFS Army. They've got showdowns. Every single contest, Brandon, people are winning thousands and thousands of dollars. We have people who are tying for first in the Millie Makers every single week. I mean, just honestly go follow at DFS Army on Twitter, and you can see pretty much all of the contests that our members are taking down. So become a VIP member. And if you're kind of new to this and you're not really sure how to win and you want to just get a free month, if you follow the link in the show description below, but it's dfsarmy.com/free-offer. Brandon, I've been trying to say that thing for the last 3 weeks, and I've been messing it up every single week. So I had to write it down this week. I had this week. There we go.
You killed it, man. You killed
Hey,
it.
listen, one shot happy, better late than never. Hopefully you can go back and rewatch it. But we appreciate you jumping on late. And yeah, man, like this is it. We're going to be here for the rest of the season. We're here. We're specializing in your season-long fantasy football leagues, of course. But if you have any dynasty type questions, we are also dynasty degenerates. I would like to categorize this, Brandon, and we're certainly happy to answer any sort of those questions.
I think we need to do a trade target show soon for our dynasty listeners and for our all-in championship teams and those kind of guys. So I think we need to do that for our dynasty following for sure.
If you guys have show ideas or things that you want to hear, just let us know. We're here for the people. We talk about, we have our staple shows. We have the weekly waiver wire show every Monday that I like to go on and talk about my favorite waiver wire plays. We get into the details, of course, for all of our members. We actually have our waiver wire list that we put in the Discord, but I walk through the strategy and some of the game theory of those waiver wire pickups. Of course, every week we're talking about our favorite flex plays of the week. We're answering your start sit questions. So keep coming back. We appreciate you guys. But let's just end it there, man. So go out. Great. Good luck in week 6. For Brandon, I'm Flex Sheehan. We are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. Go get paid.